Dr. Zuhdi Jasser is on. I don't know in what order, but I would say that a family man, veteran of the United States Navy, active Muslim, and a regular guest on this program. Dr. Jasser, yesterday, I'm not even going to tell you where I met this person because it isn't important, but he is a very, very well-read, caring, and compassionate person in news. And he said to me late yesterday afternoon when we were talking about Fort Hood, and I told him that you were going to be on the program. And he said, I still don't understand. He said, I have heard Dr. Jasser. I've seen him on television. But he said, I still have this overwhelming feeling that Islam, by its very nature, is based in violence and is anchored in the 16th century and doesn't seem to be moving any closer to the 21st.
Well, I can totally understand where he's coming from, and that we've seen a series of acts that have been prevented, cells that keep coming up that are unrelated. There's a virus out there that is not communicating, that just keeps multiplying. But the bottom line, if that was true, you're talking about a quarter of the world's population. If a quarter of the world's population believe in a scripture that told us to be violent against our fellow man, the world would have combusted centuries ago. So there is, that's why I think we need a national conversation. I think that the Muslims that do separate mosque and state don't have the fire under their feet to be taking this issue on, because they left it in the Middle East. They came to America because they wanted to get away from the radicalism and get away from the fascist governments and the theocrats, etc. So here they're starting to see this and they say, well, this isn't our battle. We left this battle. And I think it's time for them to wake up. The other issue is, if you think non-Muslims don't get it, the Muslim community, remember, the illiteracy rate in the Middle East and abroad is 50%. So of those that have vocations that are MDs or engineers, their educational level as far as political sciences, arts, liberal arts, how many have read Hayek and Bastiat and Jefferson and Madison and Locke? That's very limited. That type of liberal education of understanding the virtues of liberty and freedom has not penetrated the Muslim consciousness. So until we get that penetrated so that they understand that theocracies always fail and they understand the evil of theocrats running government and that what it leads to, as we see here with these acts, I don't think they're going to understand what I'm doing. And that's why we have a Muslim Liberty Project that we're working on to try to counter the literature that these imams feed the kids. And it's going to be a long process. If people think that we're going to solve this tomorrow, they're mistaken. It's going to be 50 to 100 years. But if people think that alienating Muslims or saying that Islam is the problem and somehow converting 1 billion people is the way to solve this, it has to come from within as a solution.
Starting with whom? Starting where? Starting how? At least give us a first step instead of just saying the same thing, Zuhdi, that you always do. And I know it comes from your heart. We have to do this. We have to do this. Okay, who?
Every business person that has the assets and the time to contribute to building institutes, to teaching their kids civic issues
These
in
are
America.
Muslim
Muslim American businessmen and women, and create women's organizations that take on the established Islamic groups that give women secondary and third-class status. Establish groups of interfaith discussion where you actually talk about not just kumbaya interfaith stuff, but where the differences are and where the actual theologies clash, and how do we reconcile Sharia law, which is in the 15th century, with Western 21st century law.
But Zuhdi, if no one is going to be motivated after nearly 3,000 people are killed in New York in one incident with a couple of buildings coming down, if they're not going to be motivated when an American soldier, a major, who's a psychiatrist, mows down 13 people and injures several others. Well, what in the hell can the motivation be?
I'll tell you, my 7-year-old today, when I left for work at 4:30, asked me to wake him up. Asked me to wake him up before I left, and he said, when I woke him up, I said, "What did you need?" He said, "I just wanted to wish you a happy Veterans Day," and I can't tell you how important it is to me that we leave a country behind for my kids, that they realize that this country gives them freedom, whether it's Jews, Christians, Buddhists, atheists that are running the shop. It doesn't matter. It just is a country based on a constitution that gave my family freedoms that no one else did. And at some point, and I hope it's not a worse incident, I hope it's not a dirty bomb, I hope it's not something else, but either Muslims are going to end up becoming persecuted, or we're going to have to step up to the plate like the Japanese did in World War II and say that we're going to be the first to take on the Japanese power, and Muslims need to show that we're going to be the first to take on the Islamists.
There are some that will be persecuted and are persecuted today because they happen to be Muslim, they happen to be good, faithful, patriotic Americans, and they happen to be in the service. You know, they're going through hell.
They are. And again, America needs to remind itself that those people, those Muslims, carry within them, in their soul, a understanding of America that is the key to this problem.
Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, the name of the organization again?
The American Islamic Forum for Democracy. And we have... Go ahead.
Yes, go ahead, please.
We have a documentary that I narrated, The Third Jihad, that really looks at a lot of these problems also.
And all right, so there's an opportunity for you to at least begin some kind of communication through the website or the phone number. You're always welcome here.
Thank you.
You know that. Listen.